So, as we all heard, a couple of weeks ago, our UK government announced its plan to cut carbon emission to almost zero by 2050. And then Mr. Chancellor came out to say that's going to cost us £1 trillion. Now, is there something less extreme? Can we do some good, cut some carbon out without having to break the bank? I believe the answer is yes, with digital innovation. And I'm here to share with you my journey and my discovery and my mission. So Intellicharge, my name is Pam. I have spent nearly 10 years in utilities M&A in Europe. And here's my husband, Ling. He has been spending 20 years heading software development teams for the financial industry. So our professional life have nothing to do with each other until a couple of years ago, we bought an EV. So combining our industry knowledge and the fact that we have to charge this beast twice a week, we realized that actually EVs have been misunderstood by our energy industry. And here is a vivid example of that. We realized that our electricity industry has traditionally been very hardware and engineering driven. They lack of digital capability and data intelligence, so they simply can't evolve fast enough with consumer behavior change. We then realized that between the two of us, we actually have the most unusual but unique combination of domain expertise in electricity and software to actually make a change. So, one electric vehicle consumes about the same amount of electricity as a household in the UK. When we have 30 million of them worldwide in just a couple of years' time, they will be consuming £6.5 billion worth of energy. And that's a big enough market to make an impact in, and there's indeed a problem to solve. So today, 80% of EV charging happens in situations like this. The car is plugged in and starts charging immediately, and at peak times, when the grid is already super stressed, the price is already high, the wind is not blowing, the sun is not shining. So your zero-emission vehicle is potentially become burdensome to the grid and aggravate the need to rely on dirty backup generation. Our idea is really simple. We use software connecting electric vehicle charging with that real-life energy market dynamics so we can automatically and remotely control charging to make sure that you still get your car fully charged in the morning when you need it, but only with the cleanest and the cheapest energy while helping the grid balance and make more efficient use of renewable energy. Does that sound too good to be true? I'll show you an example. This is my car last Monday. The yellow line you see here is called carbon intensity, and that is a measurement of how many grams of CO2 is produced per kilowatt hour of electricity you consume. And the orange line here is a wholesale energy price. Now, without my software, my car would just be charging during the red hours straight away when I plug in at 7 o'clock in the evening. With our software, it will be dynamically charging throughout the night in the green hours. So as a result, in the end of the day, in the 7:30 in the morning, I go to my car fully charged, but only having used electricity that emits 28% less CO2 and is 21% cheaper on the wholesale price. Isn't that wonderful? Now, you might be arguing that, well, isn't this just an old-fashioned timer to delay consumption? Well, not quite. Because carbon intensity, power price, all of these things change on a half-an-hourly basis, so they'll be moving around all the time, and you don't have the time all night long to sit there and do your plug-in and unplug. Second of all, if everyone programmed their car to be charging at 2 o'clock in the morning, then that will be a new demand peak. Our software actually dynamically manages charging so that everyone benefits automatically. Our software can work with cars, also can work with EV charging infrastructure. So we have integrated with Tesla vehicles and Ubitricity charging cables, and we have run consumer trials in both cases, and we demonstrate a saving on average of 15% on CO2 and 30% actually on cost. We're currently delivering a paid pilot for UK's largest independent energy supplier to help them figure out an EV-centered electricity tariff for their consumers. Now, I'm not going to pretend that doing something in the electricity world is easy. It's really hard, and we always know we have to do so much more to showcase our expertise and to bring every stakeholder together. That's why, apart from our core product, an EV charging platform, we also provide software help for the industry data flow management system. We also provide consultancy and advisory on smart grid and vehicle to grid. We're part of Plug and Play. We speak to energy companies worldwide in US, China, Germany, France about the future of EV charging. And we're here working very closely with trade association, policymaker, energy regulator, industry co to make sure that our voice is heard. We are essentially our own energy tech accelerator, and this is how we make impact too. Now, if we're lucky enough tonight to win the grant, we'll actually have an immediate opportunity to put it into good use. So in the UK, the Office for Low Emission Vehicle, OLEV, has announced that from next month, all the electric vehicle charge points sold in the UK, if they want to qualify for a government grant, they have to have communication built in. That means that all of those devices on their list will be smart enough to work with my software. So I will be looking to ramp up my integration plan and to bring more of those devices on board so I can manage more EV charging to save the environment and save money. Thank you. Questions?
Thanks, Pam. Grids are quite a beast of its own, and when it comes to EV charging, it's really still dependent on the actual grid that you're working with. So how can you guarantee, through the use of Intellicharge, which also is a great logo, by the way, how can you guarantee that it's actually clean energy that is being used to charge your EV?
Yeah, sure. So today we do that by including the generation profile, so the actual real generation data on every half an hourly basis into our optimization criteria. When we do work one-to-one individually with energy supplier, what we could offer is many of them actually contract their energy directly with renewable generation plants, so particular solar farms or wind farms, in which case we can offer to actually optimize the power, to optimize consumption with the particular power generation plant's generation data. So that way we ensure that it's actually that particular energy you are getting. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about the customer journey, or I should say the consumer journey. So I understand that you're making your money from the electricity companies.
Yes.
But say I bought an electric vehicle.
Yes.
I want to kind of make sure that I'm using this.
Yes.
What would my experience be?
Sure. Well, today we live in a world where EV is not extremely popular, but let's talk about tomorrow when everyone have an EV, when all the energy suppliers are working with me, all of that. So you will tell to your energy provider, we can call it, I don't know, energy provider, say, hey, look, I've got the EV now. I've heard this great thing about being able to charge flexibly. I'm up for doing that. What sort of tariff can you give me? Your energy supplier say, great, you can go on this EV flexibility tariff. And by the way, did you just buy your car? I'm going to give you a charging cable, which are already integrated with this wonderful software that will be working in the background to do your flexible charging. You go away happily and taking your cable and plugging your car in. And when the first time you're doing that, my software will be automatically activated, and I'll be asking you 3 simple questions, which is, what car do you have? So I know your battery size. Typically, how do you drive? Which means what time in the morning or in the evening do you need your car, and do you want to fully charge? And after that, you don't have to do anything. You plug in, our software will be activated, and we will manage your charging. We'll give you an option with a button so that you can disable me in case you're just home, want a quick top-up charge. So that's how easy it is.
Wonderful. And until we live in that wonderful new world, how's it going to work then?
So today, with the energy supplier I'm currently working with, they will be selecting a number of EV users in their network. They're likely to be people who already bought a vehicle and who probably already bought the charging cable in their house today. So we offer them 2 things. One is I have a look at what sort of charging device they have and decide if I can integrate with them or not. Most of the case, probably not, because they won't be on the list have communication, in which case the energy supplier I'm currently working with is committed enough to actually swap them with a new energy, with a new cable that I am working with, so then we can bring them on board. But in the future, I hope to work with enough brand of charging hardware and enough brand of energy supplier. So really that choice of what device you have, what tariff you have, would be completely ubiquitous.
Can you say a bit more about your social impact? So obviously, at core of your mission is around clean energy.
Yes, right.
imagining some years down the line, if you make a profit, what do you think you might do with some of that profit?
Yeah, sure. So first question was the impact. So apart from helping people to charge only when the wind is blowing, when the sun's shining, we also help to reduce the cost. And today is hard to think about that because today the EV owners are early adopters. Their car is expensive enough to not think about energy cost. But let's think about people down the line, the ones who are getting the Nissans, the Hyundai Kona, they are actually mass market price cars. So for those customers, actually the car's running cost would make a huge difference. With our optimization, we save energy supply £150 an EV a year. And hopefully, in the future, they'll be sharing quite a significant chunk of that with their customer. And that's where, that's where some of my impact is. So with my platform, I can actually help people to be more accepted, to adopt to EV faster by giving them a lower running cost. So that's your case. Yeah.
So if you're working directly with the supplier, how can you guarantee that the consumer actually knows that they can save that much money?
It's a really, really good question. I've gone down the route of working with the energy suppliers, so it's almost a B to B to C. So I really rely on the energy suppliers to go out there and say, hey guys, if you have an EV, come with me, I have got better tariff. You're right in one hand is I don't have that direct consumer reach. I can't tell them that guys go and do this. But on the other hand, we live in a world in the UK, we have competitive energy supply. There are 72 energy suppliers in the domestic world. The competition is pretty strong. So if they can give value to customers, they will. And I believe the moment I sign up a second residential energy supplier, there will be competition and there will be people finding the best EV tariff. And that's when they start to really driving to give consumer more and more value.
Hi, just a quick question. What is your competition and how do you prevent some of the other industries to kind of take over if they're really producing the cars or kind of taking care of the grid?
Yeah, so competition, really good question. So the idea of intelligently charging stuff, is that a new idea? No, it's not. There's lots of people doing that in different verticals, in different aspects of the industry. I'm part of the Oxford Foundry program. In our previous batch, there's a company specifically looking into the farming industry and how to optimize consumption for them. There are people specifically looking into home storage or commercial storage or hospital backup. So everyone pick up their own little sector niche. And I happen to pick up EV because I love it. I have one. And I really believe in the fact that everyone will be driving one in the future. And I appreciate the aggregated power of that EV. So in terms of idea, it's not a new idea. The market actually fairly mature. In terms of devices, that's where the uniqueness of me coming in. I have had conversation with some of the bigger guys doing bigger SES assets. The feeling I got is they didn't really want to do EVs. They see sort of dealing with the consumer level individual EV is a bit too much work for them. They prefer to go to commercial sites and hoover up entire assets. Now, second about car manufacturers, also quite interesting. So I had conversation with car manufacturers that said, isn't this wonderful? Would you work with me? Would you integrate with me? Some of them would say, well, you know, isn't this something I can do myself? I can just talk to my own car, control my own car. The answer is yes, but there are 72 energy suppliers in the UK. Are you willing to go and integrate with each individual one of them? Each one have multiple energy tariff, different trading strategies? The answer is probably no. Are you willing to imagine when we have a world where everyone on your street drive an EV? Are you willing to talk to the Teslas, talk to the BMW i3, talk to the Zoe, to coordinate who goes charge first, who goes second, who goes faster? Probably not. So that's where sort of the competition becomes quite clear. Is everyone operate in their own niche, and my niche is EV charging.
I think in your pitch you mentioned some recent legislation or guidance from the UK government. Is
Industry
that right?
code, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. To what extent are you relying upon regulatory change for this to work? Or are there other regulatory risks?
I would be lying if I say regulatory change has nothing to do with me. And actually, utility is a heavily regulated environment. The more often say about everyone should do something, the better. So in a way, I'm benefiting from it. So for example, last year, Ofgem has a report saying that flexible EV charging like this will make sure our electricity system can accommodate up to 60% more EVs without them spending a single penny on additional capex. So those are great news. On the other hand, I'm not a regulated utility, so they don't really have a huge impact or detrimental sort of factor on me if that's where you think about regulated business. So what I do is I actively working with them. So I serve as a voting member for Elexon, which is the industry balancing code on how to settle electricity. I serve them as a voting member for the innovation work group. I make sure that my voice is heard and the industry is going where I think it should be going.
Thank you. I have a follow-up question too. Do we expect that we'll see EVs discharging anytime soon, or is that just something that
really
people
good
talk about all the
question.
time?
So there's a huge amount of money, government money, public money going into vehicle to grid, so that would be the term. And I have a very different view myself, but that's a personal view. So first of all, I bought the EV myself. I bought it to drive. I didn't buy it to stay there doing charging, discharging. And also doing those many cycles, so charging and discharging cycles actually do different things to your battery chemistry than just charging and charging at different times. So I would be thinking of, did I pay for a car or did I pay for a battery? And in which case I would probably buy a battery to put at home. It's much cheaper and fit for purpose. The other thing is technology-wise, in order to get electricity out from the car into the grid, you need a DC to AC current inverter. That is expensive, and that's gone into the cost that consumer have to put up with. And again, I'll be wondering about what is my payback time, etc. So not really today, but if that has become a trend, our technology, our software and optimization will be helpful in that too.
Thank you very much.